And then you want to teach to the problem instead of teaching the tools. So what I mean by that is, if you said, here's a car engine, we're gonna try to understand how this car engine works. We're gonna take it apart. So what do we need to do to take it apart? Well, we need a wrench, we need some screwdrivers, we need a hoist and a pulley, and we're gonna take it apart and we're gonna see how it all works. That's engaging. And along the way, you learn about wrenches and screwdrivers and all the tools that are needed. That actually is engaging and compelling. But the way teaching more typically works is we're going to teach you a course on screwdrivers and a course on wrenches. And you're like, why do I have a course on wrenches? It's not obvious. That would be like, say, a course on calculus without explaining what calculus is used for. Then you sort of forget it. Yeah.
How close to death did you come?
Within single-digit weeks.
22 hours a day, or like what? How many
I
hours?
was working, so 7 days a week, sleeping in the factory. I worked in the paint shop, general assembly, body shop.
You ever worry about yourself imploding? Like it's just too much?
Absolutely. No one should put this many hours into work. This is not good. And people should not work this hard. They should not do this. It's very painful.
Painful in what sense?
It hurts my brain and my heart.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that, because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
In a world driven by innovation, one man stands out at the forefront, Elon Musk.
My grandfather was actually American from Minnesota. And my mom was born in Canada, so I do have some American background. In fact, a lot of people think like my name must be from some exotic location, but I was named after my great-grandfather, who was from Minneapolis, or actually St. Paul, I should say. And he was like a school superintendent and part-time sheriff in 1900. And I was named after him. So I'm actually from Africa, named after my American ancestor. When I was young, I didn't really know what I was going to do when I got older. People kept asking me, but then eventually I thought that the idea of inventing things would be really cool. And the reason I thought that was because I read a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, which said that a sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that's really true.
His insatiable curiosity has propelled him to establish industry-leading companies like SpaceX, Tesla, and PayPal in record time. But what sets him apart?
Yeah, there's a friend of mine who's a successful entrepreneur, and started actually his career around the same time as I did. And he has a good phrase. His name's Bill Lee. He said, "Yeah, starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss."
And you agree with that?
Generally true. Yeah. And if you don't eat the glass, you're not going to be successful.
Let's delve into the genius habits of Elon Musk that have paved his path to success. Elon Musk's first key trait is his openness to new perspectives. Unlike traditional experts, he embraces a wide range of disciplines, challenging the status quo and seeking uncharted territories.
I do think there's a good framework for thinking is physics, the sort of first principles reasoning. What I mean by that is boil things down to their fundamental truths and reason up from there, as opposed to reasoning by analogy. Through most of our life, we get through life by reasoning by analogy, which essentially means kind of copying what other people do with slight variations. And you have to do that, otherwise it's mentally, you wouldn't be able to get through the day. But when you want to do something new, you have to apply the physics approach.
Give me an example of that. Like, what's one thing that you've done that on that you feel has worked for you?
Sure. So somebody could say, in fact, people do, that battery packs are really expensive, and that's just the way they'll always be, because that's the way they've been in the past. You're like, well, no, that's pretty dumb. And you say, no, okay, well, what are the batteries made of? So first principles would be to say, okay, what are the material constituents of the batteries? What is the spot market value of the material constituents? So you can say, okay, it's got cobalt, nickel, aluminum, carbon, and some polymers for separation, and a steel can. So break that down on a material basis and say, okay, what if we bought that on the London Metal Exchange, what would each of those things cost? Like, oh, geez, it's like $80 per kilowatt hour. So clearly, you just need to think of clever ways to take those materials and combine them into the shape of a battery cell, and you can have batteries that are much, much cheaper than anyone realizes.
Starting from the basics is Elon Musk's mantra. Just as one learns the alphabet before forming sentences, Musk emphasizes understanding fundamental principles before delving into specifics. This approach ensures a solid foundation for groundbreaking ideas and prevents basic errors. Elon Musk's rapid mastery of rocket science exemplifies the power of focused learning. By absorbing knowledge from diverse sources and discerning truth from falsehood, Musk achieved unprecedented success in space exploration.
How did you get the expertise to be the chief technology officer of a rocket ship company?
Well, I do have a physics background. That's helpful as a foundation. And then I read a lot of books and talked to a lot of smart people.
You're self-taught?
Yeah. Well, self-taught, yes, meaning I don't have an aerospace degree.
So how did you go about acquiring the knowledge?
Well, like I said, I read a lot of books, talked to a lot of people, and have a great team.
The odds of me coming into the rocket business, not knowing anything about rockets, not having ever built anything, I mean, I would have to be insane if I thought the odds were in my favor.
Why even begin?
When something is important enough, you do it even though the odds are not in your favor.
How much of your personal fortune have you poured into this?
$100 million.
Interconnecting fields of study is Elon Musk's forte. By synthesizing knowledge from various domains, Musk generates innovative ideas and practical solutions. This interdisciplinary approach fosters creativity and enables thinking beyond conventional boundaries.
The 5 things that I thought about at the time in college, so quite a long time ago, 25 years ago, making life multiplanetary, accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, the internet, broadly speaking, and then genetics and AI.
Fast forward 25 years and Musk is or has solved problems in 3 of those 5 fields. Zip2 and PayPal revolutionized the internet. SpaceX has made great advancements to space travel and is working towards making life multiplanetary. Tesla and SolarCity have massively accelerated the transition to sustainable energy.
Elon Musk advocates for broadening knowledge horizons. Embracing diverse disciplines enriches one's perspective and fuels unconventional thinking. Putting knowledge into action is the cornerstone of Elon Musk's success.
Today the challenge is in terms of millions of people, but in the future, based on what the scientific consensus is, the problem will be in hundreds of millions and much more severe. So I think it's very important that we take action today to recognize that we are making a very significant change to the chemical constituency of the atmosphere and the oceans, and one that is almost impossible to reverse. When we look back on these days in the future, we want to be able to say that we did the actions that were right, the actions that were important, because I think it's very difficult to say 20, 30, 40 years in the future, what do you say to your kids or your grandkids? It's like the scientists all say that these bad things are going to happen. It's like 97%. So like say, well, to your grandkids, your kids, like, well, did nobody tell you? No, it's like, no, everyone was telling us. So why didn't you do anything? What's the answer? What are the actions that, if we don't take them today, will result in quite a terrible future? And I think the challenge is
perhaps a small indication of what the future will be like if we do not take action with respect to climate change.
Embracing challenges and leveraging setbacks as learning opportunities are integral to personal growth and achievement. In conclusion, Elon Musk's approach to thinking has transcended boundaries and redefined success. By embodying his philosophy of relentless learning, bold experimentation, and practical implementation, we can all strive towards unlocking our creative potential and challenging the norm.
The biggest issue I see with so-called AI experts is that they think they know more than they do. And they think they're smarter than they actually are. This tends to plague smart people. They just can't, they define themselves by their intelligence, and they don't like the idea that a machine could be way smarter than them, so they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed. This is the wishful thinking situation. I'm really quite close to, very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential. You can see this in things like AlphaGo, which went from, in the span of maybe 6 to 9 months, it went from being unable to beat even a reasonably good Go player to then beating the European world champion, who was ranked 600, then beating Lee Sedol 4-5, who'd been world champion for many years, then beating the current world champion, then beating everyone while playing simultaneously.